Welcome back. This is the Series of Opinions podcast, episode number 29, Let the Women Do the Work, part 2. I'm Moira.
I'm Faith.
And I'm KJ.
So today we're going to be discussing 3 women that we love and think are deserving of some great recognition for their badassness. So do we have any recommendations to begin with?
I just wanted to recommend Taylor Swift's new song. I don't know if you guys have listened to it.
Yes.
It's like one of the ones from the Vault, from the Fearless album that she...
I am in love with it.
It's so good. It's called
really good.
You All Over Me by Taylor Swift. So good. I've been listening to that nonstop.
Me too.
So good.
I think by the next time we record, the album's probably going to be out. Assuming that we haven't all been trolled massively.
Yes, you're right.
And something will, in fact, come out on April 9th.
Yeah, I guess we're a little bit ahead. So when we're recording this right now, You All Over Me just came out, not that long ago. So that's why it's so exciting.
But it'll be mid-April before we... I mean, honestly, when's this episode even coming out? End of April, probably.
Yeah, so forgive the little bit of a time shift. Yeah, delay, but
I'm obsessed.
It's been exciting
it's so
for
good.
me. Oh, so good. It's so good.
The country vibes were just so much. It brought so many feels.
So good. Oh my gosh, all her songs are just amazing. And then I was also thinking, I thought I already did this person, but I just made her one of our hot persons of the week on Instagram, but I never actually recommended her. She's a YouTuber, and her name is Samantha Jo. She's incredible. She's funny. She's beautiful. She's her videos are super good and super funny. Just body positivity. I love that. And she's just amazing. And I would definitely recommend her YouTube videos.
Yay!
I love that.
I do remember that she was hot person of the week several way back in the beginning. She was one of the first hot person of the week.
Yes.
I think she was in the first 3.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I assumed that I had talked about her before on the pod, but no, never.
Correct.
But now I have, so definitely recommend her.
Oh, I love that. I only have one recommendation this week, and it's something I read for school because that's all I have time for. It's a book called The Grimoire of Kensington Market by Lauren B. Davis. She uses magic in order to discuss the opioid crisis in Toronto. And it's very interesting, and I thought, it discusses different perspectives and stuff, and I thought it was very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Again, with the educational Moira.
Yeah, jeez.
Moira reads so much more for her program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My whole life is just reading.
I have a recommendation, and then I have a thing that I'm just kind of mad about, and I don't know where else to talk about it. We could probably do a whole episode on it, but
okay.
So I'll start with my recommendation first, and then this discussion-y thing I need to talk about that I can't concisively and eloquently put into a tweet, or else I would just tweet it.
Okay.
So my recommendation is a bit of a throwback that you guys are all going to be really excited about, and it's Once Upon a Time.
Yay!
I've just been rewatching random episodes of Once Upon a Time, which is on Disney Plus now. And which is the perfect spot for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've just been I'm kind of in a spot with everything that I'm watching where I'm kind of done everything, or at a spot where I don't want to want to watch anything new right now, and I have a lot of school stuff coming up, so I don't want to start anything new.
Right.
So I've just been rewatching things, and I was just rewatching Supernatural so much, but I have a full Supernatural rewatch coming up in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have been trying to watch it a little bit less. So I've just been rewatching bits of Once Upon a Time. So I was watching a bunch of season 3 and 4 stuff. Over Friday and Saturday, I was watching season 7 stuff, the end of season 7. I'm man, I know season 7 gets a lot of hate, but it's actually really good.
It was actually pretty good, especially in hindsight. At the time, it was so different. I think everybody hated on it, but in hindsight, it was really good.
I literally think it was canceled before its time. I think that they had all of the right ingredients for a reboot, and the fans just kind of tore it down before it had a chance. I think that everything they brought into the reboot was actually really good.
Yeah, it was just too different, too fast.
Yeah, I think people were just season 6 ended on the perfect ending.
Yeah, and then
it almost if they waited a couple of years and then rebooted it instead of trying to do season 7 the next year, I think it would have been much more successful because it was actually really good. And I think that the actors were really good. Andrew J. West as adult Henry was really good casting. Once Upon a Time has great casting.
Very, very, very good casting. And I think people were salty too because we had as fans, we just found out that, like, Jennifer Goodwin wasn't coming back, and
Josh Dallas, Jennifer Morrison, like the big players did not come back for season 7.
Yeah, so
but it was still really good without them.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I agree, because I miss that show so much.
And then, honestly, I wasn't expecting to talk about Once Upon a Time the way we just did, but actually it's perfect for what I wanted to discuss, which is actors and celebrities do not owe you more seasons of the thing that you like. I was on YouTube, and I was watching a Heartland video, and there was, like, a bunch of comments about people were just so mad that the show, that Graham Wardell had been written off, but, like, Graham Wardell asked to be written off, and he was called selfish. He was told he left for selfish reasons. I was like, the man gave 13 years.
That was a long time.
Actors are allowed to want to move on from projects. Like, that is okay. Like,
absolutely.
I see this with Grey's Anatomy a lot, too. Like, actors have other things going on in their lives, especially shows that have been on for a long time. Supernatural, Grey's Anatomy. Those people got married, had kids, and stuff in their whole lives over the course of the time that they were on the show. Their lives have changed, and their work needs to change with them sometimes to accommodate their new lives, or, you know, they just want to explore different things creatively. They do not owe you things, and we need to separate actors from the characters that they play. I'm very uncomfortable as well with, like, shipping real people. We love a good ship. We've done multiple episodes on a good ship. I find it so uncomfortable when people ship actors together, or just, like, celebrities in general.
It's a little bit too personal, for sure.
I read a review of Folklore when it came out, and this person that wrote this review was so mad about all the Taylor and Joe content because they're a Taylor Swift Karlie Kloss shipper, and I was so uncomfortable. Like, Taylor Swift is a real person. Her sexuality is not going to change just because you want it to. I mean, if Taylor Swift comes out as, like, bisexual, that's totally none of our business, and we'll be very happy for her. But she hasn't done that, and all indications point to the fact that she is straight. And it's really uncomfortable for you to come on and just be mad that she's writing songs about Joe because you don't like Joe, because you think that Taylor Swift should be romantically involved with someone that she has never given any indication that she's been with. Or Lily and Reinhardt and Cole Sprouse from Riverdale. Like, their characters dated on the show, the actors dated in real life. They broke up, and people were really upset that they broke up. But, like, relationships just don't work out sometimes. You don't know anything about their real life relationship.
Exactly.
Like, we're lucky that whatever happened to end their relationship, like, hasn't apparently caused them any real difficulty working together. Like, like, that's the most that you can hope for, is that they're able to put whatever happened in their personal lives behind them while they're working on the show and, like, work on the show together, and they've seemed to have done that. Like, you don't get to demand more from them.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. I was very, I don't know, upset seeing all these people, like, being mad at Graham Wardell for leaving, like, or being mad at Heartland for letting him leave. Like, he's not a prisoner.
He's a real person with real, you know, wants and
needs and
goals, and, like, he just wants to switch it up. Like, he's a real person.
Yeah, he's allowed to have that.
He literally said he wanted to leave, like, a couple years ago, but he stayed because they wanted to do a few things with the character, and then they wrote him off.
And people were trying to, like, come up with ways that they could have wrote him off, and, like,
that's the best way they could have done it.
Yeah, we talked so much about them in episode 7. Amy and Ty's relationship was just incredible. But, like, people were like, he could have gone back to Mongolia. I'm like, and leave his wife and daughter behind?
Yeah, really.
He would never have left Amy. Like, it's honestly, like, yeah, I agree. It's the same thing as we said where we would have preferred Alex Karev to have just been killed off. Like,
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, he could have pulled Justin Chambers and, like, just said, no, I'm not coming back, and I'm not, like, filming anymore, and you just have to, like, write around that. But I think that this is the best way to write him off. Because that would have ruined his character if they would have said, I'm going to Mongolia, I'm going to live there.
Yeah, dedicated father and husband leaves his wife and child.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they did it so that we're sad about it, but we don't have to be angry about the way that they did it. Because
I think it didn't ruin the character so beautifully. I hope that they get renewed for a 15th season, because honestly, the way that they handled that in season 14, I don't love the ending, the way the season ended, but
fair.
Just because it didn't really feel like an ending. If there's nothing else, like, it didn't feel like anything was finished, and not in a like way I want Grey's Anatomy to feel unfinished. They meant to have another episode and don't have one for some reason. Unfinished.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's my recommendation / rant.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah, I'm sure we have lots of content to get through, but
yeah.
I just need to be angry about it.
No, for sure. I mean,
absolutely.
Of anywhere to talk about it. I mean, this is a place.
Exactly. So we're gonna start talking about some cool women that we think deserve some amazing recognition.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm gonna start by talking about Paris Geller from Gilmore Girls. I am so excited to finally talk about Gilmore Girls. And I need to acknowledge the fact that, so I've watched this show for many years, and I've never stopped watching this show. I just consistently watch the show every day. So sometimes I forget how amazing it was for the early 2000s. But I looked it up and stuff. There are 7 women from this show that I could have chose to talk about who are well-rounded characters, and there are multiple other female side characters who are women with their own distinct personalities, and I think that needed to be acknowledged.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm glad that you said that, because this week, unlike many other weeks, it's not a week where KJ's seen everything and no one else has. Nobody's seen anything.
No one else knows what we're talking about, which is so exciting.
We are all learning this week.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm talking about Paris. A brief description of her is that she's brutally honest, very driven person who is not afraid to bring up awkward conversations. She is loud and strong and unapologetic about it, which is amazing. So her very first episode is episode 2. And she appears along with her 2 friends, Madeline and Louise. And she is written as a super smart competitor to Rory, who is one of the main characters of the show. They compete for grades and at the school paper and on student council. They're written as frenemies, especially in the early seasons. And so she comes from this very rich family and is raised almost completely by her nanny. And we only see her mom once, I believe, throughout the entire show. And it is not when she is attending either of the graduation ceremonies that we see Paris have.
Ouch.
Which is so upsetting.
Jeez.
So she has 3 serious boyfriends throughout the show, but they're not really the biggest part of her character, which I appreciate. So I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite moments without trying to spoil anything, because a lot of the biggest OMG moments of the show and spoiler things involve her.
Yeah,
so I'm I don't want to spoil anything. So in season 2, she decides that she wants to run for student council president, and after the introductory speeches at the assembly, she is labeled as the most competent to do the job, but not the most likely to get voted in by the student body. So she asks Rory to be her vice president, stating, "Because people think you're nice, you're quiet, you say, 'Excuse me,' and you look like little birds help you get dressed in the morning. People don't fear you." And Rory then responds, "Hey, I haven't been dressed by a bird since I was 2.
I feel like Joe Wilson on Grey's Anatomy was described that way once.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure there was definitely mention of little birds helping her get dressed.
Yeah. I don't know. Did Joe say it, or was it said about her?
Somebody else said it.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Joe gets compared to a Disney princess a lot, and I appreciate
that is true.
that there's other characters out there getting that same comparison.
Oh, yes. It's so cute. And then, throughout the show, they have some of the, greatest back and forth banter, in my opinion, between Paris and Rory. Some of my favorite lines from her are, "Oh man, I can't believe this. I finally got asked out and I missed it. Was it a good ask out?" To which Rory responds, "It was a very good ask out." And Paris responds, "Wish I'd been there." She gets asked out and doesn't notice.
Aww.
It's so cute and very typical of her character. One of my favorite later seasons quote from her is, "I can scare the stupid out of you, but the lazy runs deep."
Oh, I like
that. I really like that.
She has some of the best quotes. She's the most quotable person from the show, and it's a very quotable show. So in season 3, Paris and Rory get in a huge fight, which leads them to be yelling at each other a lot at multiple different, things that they have. They yell at student council. They have arguments at the paper and stuff. They get called into the headmaster Charleston's office, and he asks them what they are fighting about. And when they refuse to answer, he starts guessing what they're fighting about. His first guess is that they are fighting over the same boy, which leads to the incredible quote from Paris: "We're girls, so we could only be arguing about a boy, right? Sexist, white-haired." And then she gets cut off, obviously, but that scene makes me so happy.
I love that.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
I hope that healed their friendship.
Not quite, but it was great.
Because, if it was, like, us having that fight and someone said that, our fight would be over as we teamed up to demolish said person.
Yeah.
We would instantly be like, this fight's done.
Yeah, exactly. We have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, and I will remind you, this episode aired in 2002.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. She is one of the best characters from the revival, in my opinion, that came out in 2016. I think they kept her very true to the character, and we got to see a lot of amazing scenes with her in it.
I have an off-topic question about the revival. Was Jared Padalecki present?
Yes, very briefly.
Good enough.
It was a very sweet scene. But because I am trying not to say anything more about what's happened, I just have, fun facts about Lisa Vale and Paris Geller in general. So, Liza Vale, who plays Paris, auditioned for the role of Rory, but obviously didn't end up getting it. So, the creator of the show, Amy Sherman-Palladino, liked her enough that she wrote her a 3-episode arc in season 1.
I love these stories so much.
It turned into, the recurring role that had season 1, and she became a series regular for the rest of the show by season 2.
That's so amazing when that happens.
It's so
I
cute.
love when people try out for a role and then they're like, I'm just gonna write you a role. Just like we got Gina Linetti in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
I love when that happens.
Sweet.
Those characters always end up being the best because they're written for the actresses.
Exactly.
Or actors.
Mm-hmm. She also has had small reoccurring roles on 2 of Amy's others most popular shows.
That's amazing.
Which I think is cute. So they obviously working together and creating content, which I think is great. As mentioned before, Paris is very, very outspoken, very loud, and Liza Vale is much more quiet and reserved, which I think is an interesting contrast and shows how great of an actress she is to me. And then my final thing that I didn't know officially until yesterday when I looked it up, but it is known that Paris Geller has a huge LGBTQ plus following, and many people wish that she had been written as a lesbian.
I love when we just we claim this one.
Yes. She's ours. Throughout the show, she does not have a huge fascination with men, but they're present and stuff. Many people believe that she would be an amazing depiction for the LGBTQ plus community to have on screen. And during the revival in 2016, Amy Sherman-Palladino came out and said that when the show was premiering in 2000, she was not allowed by the network to depict a gay character.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so much potential. In the revival, we do see a character be allowed to say out loud that they are gay, which was phenomenal, but it was unfortunately not Paris. But that is all I have to
Yeah, and she plays Bonnie in How to Get Away with Murder, right?
Yes, she does.
Oh my god, really?
Yes.
Yeah!
This is the amazing actress that
I can picture Rory, but I had no picture of Paris really in my brain.
Yeah, I don't know why I knew that. I knew that she... I think, I knew that... For some reason, I knew that she was on Gilmore Girls.
I have discussed about that before.
Yes. She's amazing. She's such a good actress, and she's really good in How to Get Away with Murder, too.
Yeah, really good.
One of my faves.
Okay,
well,
so...
That's it.
Yeah, so I am next, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm talking about Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones, the TV version, because I've only read 2.5 books, but I've seen the entire show twice, maybe 3 times, technically. And also, I'd just like to acknowledge that I know that a lot of these Sansa storylines that she has in the TV show aren't hers in the books, and that Sansa in the books isn't that great, but Sansa in the show is awesome. I love her.
This is who we're going with.
Yeah, so we're talking about the show, because that's what I know, and that's what I love. So, lady, I'm sorry, I tried to keep this sort of spoiler-free, but Sansa undergoes a lot of character development, so I tried to just stick to her storyline so I didn't spoil too much for you guys, just in case, you do decide to watch the show.
That I probably won't remember anyways when I watch the show.
So, Lady Sansa of House Stark is the oldest daughter and second oldest child of Lord Eddard Ned Stark of Winterfell, Warden of the North, and Lady Catelyn Stark. And in season 1, Cersei, Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, famously says, when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. And it's kind of like the tagline of the show. Mm-hmm. And I think that Sansa plays the Game of Thrones not only better than anyone expected of her, but better than anyone else even, like, in the show. Like, I think that she exemplifies that better than anybody.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So she has an older brother, Robb Stark, and a younger sister, Arya Stark, and 2 younger brothers, Bran and Rickon. And they're also raised alongside her father's ward, Theon Greyjoy, and Ned Stark's bastard son, who are both about the same age as her brother, Robb. So the 3 of them are about the same age, and then Sansa, and then Arya, and then Bran and Rickon. In the show, all the kids are aged up about 2 years from where they are in the books, just because of the horrible things that befall the Stark family.
Oh goodness.
Fun fact also, if you lose in a war, you can just give your son as a ward to the person that beats you in the war, and
my gosh.
That's how they get Theon Greyjoy. It's because their father goes to war against the North and loses, and he's just like, please have my only son.
Oh my gosh.
And they raise his son.
Wow.
And then they are surprised when their son is mad at them later.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
They're surprised when that guy betrays them. I mean, to be fair, they were raised as like siblings, but still, he was stolen from his parents at a young age. So her sister Arya is a bit of a tomboy, running after their brothers in the patriarchal society that is Westeros. Mm-hmm. Sansa, on the other hand, seems like she'll grow up to be the perfect lady. Which is good, because as the daughter of a lord, that's really all her parents have planned for her. She's like, I'm good at embroidery, and I'm gonna marry a lord someday. And they're like, good, because that's all we had. That's all we had for you.
Yeah, the parents are like, yes.
Good. Arya's like, I want to be a knight. And they're like, no, honey, you're gonna be a lady. And she's like, but I want to be a knight, Dad. And he's like, no. Sorry. She takes after her mother in looks. She has like auburn hair and like a slim figure, whereas all the rest of the kids really take after their dad a lot more. So she's kind of set apart, and she doesn't get along with a lot of the other siblings as well. She has dreams of marrying a prince because she's 13. Probably normal for 13-year-old girls, regardless of where they live. But she wants to marry a prince and become queen. And that seems really achievable in the pilot when her father's asked to become Hand of the King, and the king and her father agree that she should probably get betrothed to the king's eldest son, Joffrey. She's 13 and he's 16, so they're not going to get married right away. Mm-hmm. She hasn't menstruated yet, so she's not old enough to get married, because apparently that's the bar in Westeros.
Yeah, you can have a baby, so...
So no marriage yet, but she's very excited that she's going to get to marry the prince, because he's handsome. And Arya and Sansa join their father in King's Landing, and their mother stays behind with their brothers, especially one of their younger brothers, Bran, is paralyzed in a terrible fall. So he meets his mother, so the whole family doesn't go, the family is separated. Joffrey turns out to be horrible. He's cruel and cowardly, and he uses his title to get his way and inflict pain on others, but she still finds him very handsome, and she wants to become queen and marry him. And Joffrey's mother, Cersei Lannister, wants the marriage to go forth as well, because the North is the largest of the Seven Kingdoms and is the most likely kingdom to try and split off and become independent. So she's like, let's get this locked down with a marriage.
Yeah.
And so she really pushes Joffrey to smooth things over with Sansa and you know, make sure that things are good. Mm-hmm. Joffrey's father gets killed, and Sansa's father claims that Joffrey is actually a bastard and not the rightful heir to the throne, which pisses him off. So while Arya makes a run for it and escapes King's Landing, and Ned is arrested and all his men are killed, Sansa is left alone in King's Landing at the mercy of Joffrey and his mother. Oof. So she's given the nickname Little Bird because she's beautiful and she's trapped in a cage as a political prisoner. And Sansa really tries to save her father's life, and she doesn't accomplish that because, like I said, Joffrey is a horrible human being. And he has her father beheaded, and then he makes her go up and look at the severed heads of her father and her like governess person.
No.
Just, yeah, it makes her look at it.
Yeah.
So her brother Robb goes to war against the kingdom. So the North does exactly what Cersei didn't want, and they declare independence and go to war because, yeah, Robb's pissed that his father got beheaded. Mm-hmm. And so Sansa is stuck there as a prisoner. She's a high-value prisoner, and she really pretends to be loyal to Joffrey, so she's spared the brunt of his sadistic abuse, but she's kind of just forced to sit there and be present while he hurts her or discusses about her, like, the possibility of slaughtering her family.
Mm-hmm.
She reaches maturity, and she's terrified because she's now able to be married to Joffrey, who's only gotten worse. His uncle thinks that maybe if he just, like, gets out some sexual tension, he'll be less of a horrible human being, and he ends up killing some sex workers.
Wow.
And so Sansa is terrified.
Mm-hmm.
But she's saved a little bit because Marjorie Tyrell's brother does something heroic. I don't even remember what he did, but he asked Joffrey to consider marrying his sister Marjorie. And because Sansa's family is in open rebellion with the crown, she's not as valuable a marriage anymore. Mm-hmm. So Cersei's like, yeah, you should probably just, like, step aside and let Joffrey marry somebody else. And she pretends that she's upset about this, but she is not. She kind of strikes up, like, a friendship with Marjorie because she warns Marjorie that Joffrey is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
She's also in even more danger because now that she's not betrothed to Joffrey, she's not as valuable a hostage.
Mm-hmm.
So they could just kill her. But Marjorie's family makes plans to marry Sansa to one of their people and get her out of King's Landing before the Lannisters kill her. But the Lannisters find out and they decide to engage Cersei to that guy, and Sansa gets betrothed to Joffrey's uncle, Tyrion, who's played by the very wonderful Peter Dinklage, but is not a good marriage prospect for Sansa. So he's born with dwarfism and is described in the books as really ugly, but Peter Dinklage could never be ugly. But he's a full-grown man. I think he's around 33 or 34 in the show, like 25 or so in the books, and she's 14.
Yeah.
However, Tyrion is horrified that he's been forced to marry somebody. Not only is she a political prisoner and being forced into a marriage, she's also a literal child, and he is not okay with that. So he promises he's not going to consummate their marriage unless she asks him to, even if she never asks him to. He's like the one good Lannister of the whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Joffrey is killed at his own wedding, and Sansa takes the opportunity to escape King's Landing and leaves her husband behind to take the fall for the murder. Neither of them did, but, you know, running away made them look really guilty, so she really screwed him over, even though he was kind to her. And she's taken to the home of her aunt, who wants her to marry her first cousin, Robin, who is very childish and has been babied his entire life. But that aunt is then killed, and Sansa asks her aunt's husband to take her somewhere where the Lannisters aren't going to find her, because they're still really mad at her because they think that she murdered Joffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Their home of Winterfell was taken over by another family, and Sansa is engaged to the son of that family. He was originally a bastard, but the king said, it doesn't count, you're not a bastard anymore, so now he's not. And they're like, we know that that's not really a great claim, and people are still going to call you a bastard, so we're just going to marry you to the person who should rightfully have this castle. Like, we stole it from her family, but, like, if we marry her to you, then that will strengthen your claim. And he is similarly tempered to Joffrey, and is also a horrible human being. Sansa learns that her brother is in a position of power, her half-brother Jon, the bastard, but that she doesn't really get along with. But she finds out that he's been named commander of the Night's Watch, and is probably the only member of her family that she knows is still alive. She's just like, everyone's either dead or presumed dead, and I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm just gonna wing it, and I'm just gonna escape. So they're reunited, and Jon is super whiny and tired of fighting, so he doesn't want to go fight for their castle. He's like, it was never really my castle anyways. My name's Jon Snow, not Jon Stark. Like, it's not my castle.
Yeah.
But then they found out that Sansa's husband has their youngest brother, Rickon, held captive, so they don't have any choice. They have to go to war.
Yeah.
Sansa's really... this is when Sansa really starts to, like, develop as a good character, because she's, like, really resentful that all the men start making plans to go to war, and they're like, I live with that guy, and I grew up in that castle, and I know what he's been doing with it since you were there last. Like, maybe just ask me what I think.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm a woman, but, like, maybe just ask me what's going on over there. And the battle goes really badly, but it ends up being Sansa's own political power that gets them the forces they need to keep her brother from dying. And then, you know, they reward her by making Jon the King of the North, which was their brother Rob's title. Yeah. Sansa saved the day, but Jon got all the credit.
Yeah.
Of course.
But he has to go. He has things to do. So he appoints Sansa as the regent, so she's running shit. And she turns out to be really fucking good at that job. Like, really excellent.
Yay.
But she's really frustrated because they all want to know what Jon thinks, and what's Jon got to say? And he's a bastard, and just because she's a woman, she couldn't be named the ruler. Like, yeah, she's just like, if I was a man, he wouldn't even have a claim. This would be my fucking castle. But while her brother wants to make the North one of the Seven Kingdoms again, Sansa's like, I'm gonna just, like, keep us separate. I'm gonna take over And the men in the other kingdoms literally just didn't even think to ask to be separated. Sansa's like, hey, yeah, we're so glad that you figured your shit out in the Six Kingdoms, but we're not coming back. And all the men who are sitting at the table are just like, that was an option? We could have asked for that? But like, she just ends up as the queen of the North. And ends up being one of the most powerful people in Westeros. And truly is just my favorite character on the show.
I love that.
There's so many good quotes. So I said some quotes that were like about her / by her. So one of my favorite ones is from Tyrion Lannister when they're eventually reunited for the first time since they were married. He says, many underestimated you. Most of them are dead now. And he's talking about his plan, and she just says, I used to think you were the cleverest man alive. And then like the implication is like, she's smarter than him now.
Yeah.
And like she thinks that he's dumb. And then there's one where like Sansa doesn't have any fighting skills at all, and she says, witty remarks won't make a difference. That's why we're down here. None of us can do anything. It's the truth. That's the most heroic thing we can do now. Look the truth in the face. Because she's like, we're the smart people, but we have no value on a battlefield, so we just have to sit down and shut up and let the battlefield people do their thing.
There we go.
And I just really appreciate that she's like, this is my strength, and I don't have it. Like, I don't have what you guys have, so I'm just gonna sit down and let y'all do what you do. And I just have a few favorite moments in particular. There's one where someone has tried to pit Sansa against another member of her family, and he's like one of those people that is just like going around pulling strings. He's the Rumpelstiltskin of of Game of Thrones. He is pulling the strings and nobody fucking knows about it. And she lets him think that she's gonna like execute her sister, and then she turns around and she's like, actually, you're the one that's in trouble. Like, actually, I know it's been you this whole time. And she says, I'm a slow learner, it's true, but I learn. And then there's a really, really good moment in this, like, crypt, and Tyrion says, maybe we should have stayed married in a, like, I admire you kind of way, not in a, I think that you're hot because you're a child kind of way. In a, I admire that you've become a smart adult human being. And she says, you were the best of them. And he says, what a terrifying thought. Because he knows that their marriage was bad. And then back to the moment where Sansa declares independence for the North. She says, you'll be a good king. But tens of thousands of Northmen fell in the Great War defending all of Westeros, and all those who survived have seen too much and fought too hard to ever kneel again. The North will remain an independent kingdom as it was for thousands of years. And it's so good because everyone else had just voted on a new king, and she was the last person to vote, and she's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I agree with your choice. Like, the vote was unanimous up to that point, so like, even if she said she wanted someone else, it wouldn't have mattered. But she's like, I respect that y'all voted on a new king, and I agree with that choice, but we're out. We're not. I'm gonna be queen of my own damn country. And I love her so much. Like, she just becomes the smartest person in the show. And yeah, that's Sansa Stark. She's so good.
Amazing.
And she's played by the wonderful Sophie Turner, who's such a good actress. And like, I think because she doesn't start out like, Arya is, her sister, is like such a good character, but Arya starts out like, I want to be a knight, I want to do all this boy, like, gendered boy things that aren't for me. And Sansa was not like that. Sansa was like, I want to do embroidery and get married and have babies and all that, like, totally also valid stuff, but like, she ends up just like becoming a monarch, and she doesn't fucking need to get married or have any babies to do it.
Yeah, I love that.
That is great.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Amazing job.
Thanks. I hope I didn't ruin too much of Game of Thrones for you.
No, it was good. Yeah, really good. That was really interesting. I watched the first, like, season or two, so I knew, like, generally kind of the beginning of her story, but yeah, super good. Good job.
Yeah, and, like, I tried to keep it so, like, you don't know who's alive and who's dead and stuff. And when. And, I mean, I don't really like season 8 as a whole, but, like, Sansa has a good season 8.
That's
as
good.
Far as characters go, like, she's amazing. And her ending is, like, the only one of the main characters' endings that I'm, like, really satisfied with.
That's good. That's really good. So I am next. I'm doing Eve Polastri from Killing Eve. Of course, played by Sandra Oh, who's amazing. She's so good.
Literally so good.
I got a lot of this information from fandom.com. I did a lot of research on like different articles written about the character, and a lot of them just copy and paste directly from fandom.com. So I thought that was like super like, rough. Poor fandom.com does all of this. They chronicle, like, what she does in every single episode.
Oh my
like,
God,
it's a long, long page.
Yeah, shout out to fandom.com as well, for me as well.
Yeah, and I just felt so terrible that all these articles I was reading were literally copied and pasted from fandom.com and, like, didn't give them credit. So I want to do at least a little bit and give them credit, because they do a good job. So, Eve Polastri was born in England and raised in Connecticut by her mother and father. As far as spoilers and stuff, I tried to kind of keep it, because the premise of the show is kind of set up in the first episode, so that's kind of what I tried to parallel it with.
Okay.
So it's basically just like the premise of the show, kind of, with a lot of her history sprinkled in, so.
Amazing.
From a young age, she hoped to work for the MI6 in the tracking and arresting of assassins all over the world. MI6 being, like, so sorry to any UK listeners, but I believe it's, like, the UK version of, like, the CIA.
Yeah.
And FBI, like, kind of.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
That kind of thing.
It's where James Bond works.
Exactly. She became fascinated with the psychology of crime, which led her to getting a degree in criminal psychology. Her father's memorial brings her back to the UK, where she meets Nico, who she marries, who's later described as the quote-unquote perfect husband, and she never really leaves the UK. When her father died, her momentum kind of slowed in life, and she wasn't really sure who she was trying to impress anymore. So she eventually gets a job working as an MI5 security officer. Her dream was to be kind of working undercover in a secret assassin hunting department for the MI5, but unfortunately for her, this job kind of lands her more at a desk kind of position, assigning protection to people in power while they're in London. So after getting this job, Eve starts to find herself extremely dissatisfied with her job and her life as a whole. She's bored, super bored.
Yeah, she is. I do remember that.
And that is when Villanelle crosses her path. She's immediately super obsessed, an assassin with flair, charisma, and danger. Eve was absolutely hooked. Eve is appointed head of a secret MI6 unit to track Villanelle, meaning Eve can not only use her knowledge from her degree that she worked so hard at, but also her obsession with assassins and criminals, and namely Villanelle. She investigates assassinations across Europe and tracks Villanelle, and her fascination with Villanelle grows more and more intense. As the show progresses, Eve sacrifices more and more, and Villanelle and Eve have this mutual obsession with each other that hurts many in its path. So that's kind of the premise of the show, and kind of the path that they go on. Once they become obsessed with each other, once they lock eyes on each other, it's like a cat and mouse kind of thing all the way through the show. So as far as her personality, Eva is really ambitious, but she's also real. She doesn't fake things. If it's boring, then she doesn't want to put her effort into it. She needs to feel passionate about things. She is very intelligent. She tracks Villanelle very efficiently and can put herself in her mind, Villanelle's mind, better than anyone. She is obsessed with the gloriously awful. She wants it bloody, action-packed, rule-breaking, and femme fatale involved. She is really observant and brilliant and extremely persistent when it comes to things that she feels strongly about. She struggles with compartmentalizing her work from her personal life, which makes her a down-to-earth and relatable character. I think sometimes they go a little bit far with, I struggle with this character sometimes because she's super, super likable, but, like, she gets major blinders on when she's obsessed with something or someone.
Sandra Oh does that so well. Like, that's how Christina is as well.
Totally. She plays it so well. She is incredibly brave, going to some very dangerous situations and willing to come face to face with Villanelle, who's a professional assassin. She does this out of pure fascination and in the interest of learning more about her. She's willing to get close to Villanelle and find out more about her, and she's not really afraid of her the way that a lot of people are. And though Eve comes across as mild-mannered and a little bit awkward, she's really smart, really strategic, and really good at thinking outside the box. She also has a bold, rash side that tends to emerge whenever she's got a lead on Villanelle. And then a few quotes that I have from her. Some stuff happens with Villanelle, and she gets really angry, and she says, "I'm going to find the thing you care about most, and I'm going to kill it," which is like, because she's saying this to an assassin, so it's just...
That's pretty intense.
It's powerful, for sure. And then in another episode, she is trying to be polite to a hotel clerk, and it's not getting her anywhere, and so she just, like, turns on this different kind of personality and is really mean to them, and then she ends up getting what she wants. And she turns to Carolyn, the one that she's with, and says, "God, it makes me rage how efficient things are when you're a dick to people."
I love that so much. I'm gonna have to give this show another go.
Right? It's so good.
4th time's the charm. I can't believe I stopped watching this show 4 different times.
It's so good. I think it's better in a situation where you can binge it, I think. I watched it like as
never
it came
got
out
of season 1. Like, I literally have not got past season 1.
I watched it as it came out, and it's really hard to kind of follow the whole MI6 and the 12 is like this group that Villanelle works for. It's really hard to follow that and kind of keep track of who's working for who when it's like they only have like 10 episodes a season, and then their seasons are like a year apart, so it's a little bit hard to follow sometimes. But if you binge it, it's such a good show.
But yeah, that's that back up on the priority list.
definitely recommend. If we do another host picks, I think that'll probably be the one I pick. But yeah, that's one of her most like famous quotes. Like, one of the things that people refer back to is "It makes me rage how efficient things are when you're a dick to people."
I love it.
It's so good. And then Eve goes on kind of a rant about Villanelle. She says, "I believe there's a female assassin operating internationally, and she's targeted a number of influential people. She doesn't have a signature, but she certainly has style, and I don't know who or what is behind her, but I don't think she's slowing down, and that just interested me, I guess. But also apparently makes me a fantasist and a crackpot and completely on my own." And that is Eve Polastri from Killing Eve. Super interesting and super good. I almost was gonna do Villanelle, but
I'm actually glad that you did Eve. Like, honestly.
yeah, because I think that Villanelle in some ways is a little bit more likable almost because she has that charisma, but of course I feel conflicted because she's like kills so many people and so ruthlessly.
I think I've gotten up to episode like 4 maybe or so, and like when she killed, what was the partner's name, Frank or Bill or something? Bill, yeah. When Bill died, I was like, oh man, we're escalating. It's only been a couple episodes, but we are escalating.
Yeah, she's a super sociopath, but Villanelle is just so...
Sociopaths can be really likable, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. But she's such a likable character, and she's so fun and cool. But Eve is also cool in her own way, to kind of contrast that.
And Sandra Oh was just...
And Sandra is so amazing. She's so different than Christina in so many ways. But yeah, like you said, it kind of overlaps too, so it's just totally right in Sandra's wheelhouse. It's such a good show.
I remember Eve and her husband have like a good relationship. Like she loves her husband.
Yeah.
And like Christina could never.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Not that Christina's incapable of love. It's just that she would never spend that much energy or time away from her work on it.
Yeah, true. Nico, her husband, is kind of like, that's kind of his character, is like the perfect husband. That's kind of... Aww. He ends up having a little bit more to his character, but that's kind of like...
the gist of
it is, he's just the perfect husband to Eve. So when she gets her blinders on, it's like a little bit not so good for Nico, but...
When you marry someone who's that involved in their work, that's what you're, like...
Yeah, that's what happens.
You know, they're not going to change just because you get married, and I think, you know, sometimes people forget that. Obviously, like, if you need something emotionally from your partner, you have every right to ask your partner to give you that, but you can't ask your partner to change who they are entirely.
Yeah. But while doing this, I really kind of want to rewatch the show, and I'm not someone who, like, rewatches things a whole lot, So I love the show so much. It's so good.
That's great.
Amazing, honestly. Three great women, and I like that nobody knew them this time.
Yeah, none of us have seen like the other two shows. So.
Yeah, no KJ going. Can I just add?
Yeah, actually, I have a little bit more.
I know you guys love when I do that, but
no, honestly, it brings up some good points, and it's good to have someone who knows the subject but didn't like do the research, like prepare the notes, so you know, like, if we missed something or should bring something up.
Yeah, because, like, when I am talking about a topic, like, a lot of times something will instantly come to mind, and then, like, I just fill in the rest. And, like, when that happens, when you guys are doing a topic I know and you guys don't bring up that thing, I'm like, well, I need to bring up this thing. Because it would have been the thing that I started with if it was me.
Yeah.
And it's fine that you guys didn't bring it up, but I still want to talk about it. Because I was waiting for you guys to bring it up so I could talk about it. No, that was good. I'm a fan of everything that just happened.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Let the women do the work is definitely a fun one.
Yeah.
And so we would definitely recommend all 3 of these shows for everyone to watch. And yeah, does anyone have any other recommendations?
No,
just these shows.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I guess we're going to move on to our end segments now.
Sure.
Do we want to start off with Love It or Lose It, which is one thing you loved and one thing you'd rather get rid of from your topic?
Sure, I'll start.
Sure.
Again, this week I didn't write anything down, so...
It happens.
Yeah.
That's alright.
So I think the thing I love is just, like, how smart Sansa ends up being. She doesn't really get along with Arya, but at one point, like, someone is like, Arya, why are you agreeing with her? And she's like, because she's the smartest person I know. And, I just like how smart Sansa becomes. Like, just, like I said, not that, like, I've always been, like, smart, or, like, I've always been... Like, she starts out a stupid little girl with no real, like, way of making her own way in the world, and she learns how to be this smart, valuable person beyond just what she's born as.
Yeah.
You know, beyond just being born the daughter of some important people, she finds a way to have her own value that keeps her alive.
Amazing.
And I love that. And I guess, I mean, I don't want to get rid of any of the things that happened because Sansa literally says, like, she's glad that she went through a bunch of horrible things because it allowed her to become a strong person. Like, someone says, if you just come with me in, like, season 1, when I offered you a way out, like, none of that horrible things would happen. And she's like, but without all that, I wouldn't be who I am. So it's hard to, like, not want that stuff for her, but, like, what happens to her when she's married to Ramsay Bolton is really horrible. And I wish she hadn't had to go through that. Like, it's really awful what happens to her there, so.
Yeah. There's some rough stuff that
like,
happens.
you would think getting married off at 14 to someone who's, like, not socially accepted would be bad, but, like, honestly, that was, like, a good time in her life.
Yeah.
In retrospect, so, like, yeah, it's her second marriage that was really horrible.
Yeah, so mine is my love it. I would say Eve is just really brave and brilliant, and she's a really awesome and fun and really funny character to watch and to root for. My lose it would be she gets serious blinders on, like I said, especially about Villanelle, and that really ends up hurting people that are closest to her, and it makes her personal life, like, totally implode altogether, which is, of course, really problematic for everyone who is in her personal life. So, yeah, that would be my lose it.
So my love it is Paris's, like, ambition and loudness that is not attempted to be filtered throughout the show. That is her personality, and it's great, and I really respect that. And my lose it is the, like, almost but not really love triangle that they tried to do between Paris, Rory, and Tristan in the early seasons. It was, like, not my favorite storyline and not necessary because, like, Paris had a crush on Tristan and Tristan had a crush on Rory.
Right.
And, like, that was the source of some of Paris's anger, and I felt like there was more things that Paris and Rory could clash about, that they did clash about, that were much more interesting. And I didn't think it was a necessary thing.
Yeah, fair.
Valid. Valid
totally.
point.
But
anything you don't like is valid, but particularly valid.
Yeah, that was it. So we're not gonna do randomized ranking today, but it would be choosing 5 mainish characters at random and then ranking them. And so we're going to move on to I Would Name My Kid That, which like best baby names inspired by that media, or like baby names for that kid or something, or anything like that.
Yeah, I would say I really like the name Eve. I think it's really cute. And as we were talking, I also think I like the name Nico for a boy.
Mm-hmm. That's a cute name.
It's really, really nice. Yeah. I love the name Villanelle, but I would, like, never name my child that because it's, like, literally an evil sociopath assassin. But for the character, I love that name. It suits her so well. And Jodie Comer is just, so amazing.
Yeah.
So good. I geek out about Villanelle. So good.
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys?
I literally have my, like, name document open. Because I literally have a running alphabetized list of names.
Oh, I love that.
And I have both Sansa and Tyrion on my list. Like, I just like the way that they sound.
Yeah.
They're two of the, like, smartest people in the show, and, you know, that's something I value. So I'm not totally ashamed to name my kids after them. Because, you know, sometimes you're like, I like the name, but the character is a horrible person.
Yeah, totally.
As you just, said. And so I don't know, I just really like the name Sansa. I feel like, you know, all Game of Thrones naming is going to be a little bit iffy. In the next, you know, there were so many Khaleesi's born.
Yeah.
And, you know, so many Dannys that, you know, maybe it's gonna, but even by the time we have kids in several years, if we have kids, like, it still might be too soon to do any Game of Thrones inspired names. But I do like those two. I like the way they sound.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so they sound really cool and they're really unique, like not the kind of standard names.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the name Paris. I don't know if I'd name a child that, but, you know, maybe for my money heist name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I do like the name so much.
I can't believe nobody's picked that yet.
True. So that's our episode this week. You've been listening to the Series of Opinions podcast. Let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Leave us a review, that helps us out a lot. And get in contact with us on social media. Our email is seriesofopinionspod@gmail.com. We are at Series of Opinions Pod on Tumblr and Instagram, and at Series of Opinion with no S on Twitter. And you can find me at Moira_Frisk on everything.
You can find me at Miss Faith Ann on everything, and at Faith Ann Art across everything as well for my art.
And you can find me at Life Messes of KJ, all one word, all lowercase.
And we have a Facebook page now, so also check us out on that. We'll have to add that to the spiel at the end.
Yeah.
And what are we on Facebook? Do you know that off the top of our head yet?
Just at Series of Opinions.
Nice.
I believe.
Yay, okay.
Fantastic. So we will see you again next week when we talk about Mamma Mia.
Yay!
Yay! This episode was written, produced, and recorded by us. It was edited almost entirely by Editing Moira. Thank you to Faith Ebert for our logo, and we will be back next week with a brand new episode.
Bye!
Bye! Bye!